I have to ask, is Sandy Kominsky based on anybody in particular? Are you playing him with mannerisms you've picked up from real-life acting coaches? Are there scores being settled here?
You're going to have to ask Chuck Lorre then. I just, the script arrived to me. I'd never met Chuck. I just read it. I said, this is great writing. I did have an acting coach in New York when I started, Win Handman. I'm proud to say Win is still teaching acting. So he's 94.
Wow.
He still has his classes going, and I did use a little stuff from him that I worked with, but this is Chuck Lorre through and through. Really good research, good characters, great casting. Am I boring you, Paul?
Wow, that was so quick.
Usually we wait to drag our co-stars until the midway point, but right away, I like it.
What a needy guy.
Did you, when you first got those scripts, seeing Chuck Lorre's name on there, did you have preconceptions about what you thought this might be? Because, you know, he's really good at making a very specific type of show, and I can't speak for everybody here, but the first time I started watching that first season, I was like, oh, this was nothing like what I expected. Right. This feels like an entirely different beast.
Well, I never thought I'd be happy that Chuck isn't here tonight. Really. But yeah, no, I did. You know, he's a 4-camera guy, and with 4 cameras, I'm sure all you know is more like with an audience. And the setups, and he discovered himself, he kept talking about, he learned more things, this being his first 1-camera streaming experience. And in the 4-camera show, you never can get closer than about waist up. That's about as close as you can get because of the distances. Whereas all of a sudden now you could have close-ups. So he realized, and I think the second season benefited from it, that he could do a lot less in terms of indicating all of that, but his resume was very, very top. And the other big difference was that Chuck wrote all the shows. He had some help with Al Higgins, but most all these shows have a stable of writers, and he, you know, he wrote all of them himself. So it was very, very impressive.
Let's talk about our new additions to season 2. How would you describe your characters? How do you guys fit into this second season? We have a pretty good idea of where things are going to go, but walk us through this here.
Well, Madeline knew Norman back in the day, about 50 years before, when they dated, and they were so young, you know, life took them in different directions. They both married, had long marriages with children and all of the above, and they find one another, as we see, after their beloveds have passed away. But they're a certain age, and they're not going to, you know, when they realize that there's still some feeling between one another and they really enjoy one another's company, I think Madeline realizes, you know, she's not going to waste any time. You know, they can't like have a long romance and decide whether they might want to date. She's just say, hey, we're doing it now. So, and I think, you know, I watched season 1 and I loved this show. And when I met Chuck, I had no idea, you know, he wasn't even sure which of the characters he wanted me to play. And I put this gray wig on. He didn't think I could play Alan's love interest, but sadly, I definitely do look old enough. Even I, you know, Michael, of course, quite famously did not recognize me, having seen me 2 days before and knowing me for about 40 years. No. So Madeline, but Madeline has spunk. Madeline is, you know, wants him in the bedroom, and I think, you know, what's really cool is there's 2 relationships. They've had long relationships, so they've got baggage. They've got heavy baggage. So we get to understand what it is that triggers one another, and, you know, it's not always going to be easy. And so that's what's fun.
Well, what's the saying that you're never supposed to work with children, animals, or neurotic improvisational actors on top of horses, right? How was that? See, you look very comfortable on that horse.
Yeah.
Alan, I'm a little worried about.
It was a little worrying, yes. Plus he was not insured to actually get on the real horse, which of course he then decided he wanted to, so everyone's going, ah, like this. And then for me, they didn't want me on a horse either, and I said, that is ridiculous. I did 7 years of Dr. Quinn. I lived on a horse. They called up my stunt double from like 28 years ago, whenever it was I did Dr. Quinn, and she came and put the grey wig on, and, you know, and it was fun. But she did not ride. I rode that horse. at a walk.
Your character, how do you feel that he fits into the arc of where season 2 is going?
Well, because you've only seen the first 2. I think I was brought in basically to cause trouble mainly for Michael, because after a lifetime of dating younger women, he now has to accept that his lovely daughter is dating an old guy. Actually, and apparently, I'm my natural self, I'm too youthful and thin. What they did...
That's what we had in common.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell them how everybody told you how you lost weight. They all thought you lost
Yes.
weight.
Well, my first meeting, I sat with Chuck, and he said, we want to age you up, make you older. I said, well, you can call it whatever you want, 68, whatever. He goes, no, we're going to physically age you. And I said, well, how? He said, well, we're going to give you a gut, and we're going to make you bald. I said, well, I have a gut, so I'm saving you money there.
Yeah.
And then, and then the ponytail was the killer. That was really fun.
That was a killer.
It just surprised me every time I passed by a mirror. I go, oh, look what's behind me. But it was really fun, because that actually does so much of the acting for you. You just, not that I needed help to feel old.
For the ponytail, right?
The what?
I assumed you took the role for the ponytail. That was how they got you.
Yes, that's why I did it. No, it's kind of a dream job. I know Chuck Lorre from 1,000 years ago, and I just called him to tell him how much I loved season 1. I thought it was his best writing, and it was just beautiful. And as you say, it was so not what one would expect, maybe. And I jokingly said, well, we should do something like that. I'd like to sit in a car and talk, two Jews in a car. I could do that. How hard can that be? And then he said, it's funny you should mention, because they have this character in mind. So I get to work with these great people now, and it's like, are you kidding? It's pretty fun. It's pretty great.
Let's talk about how his character changes the dynamic between you two. You can already tell 2 episodes in, it seems to be a very different dynamic than it is in the first season. Not just the sort of you're parenting him thing that you get in those first run of episodes, but this clearly throws a monkey wrench into things.
Well, that's the initial impression. But of course, it ends up terrible for my daughter, Mindy, because we end up, we become best friends. What's worse for a daughter than her father becoming best friends with her boyfriend?